6 weeks of everyone's favorite form of gambling, fantasy football. I'm here with Josh and Brad to discuss the biggest winners and losers of fantasy thus far. So Josh, I know we've talked about like Patrick Mahomes having a fantastic season, but who are some of your biggest winners in fantasy football?
Honestly, my biggest winners, Todd Gurley is a guaranteed 20 points every week. You've got Adam Thielen, who's having a record season right now. He was a sleeper pick, honestly. Not a lot of people considered him as a number one receiver, but he's been putting out numbers every week. And Matt Ryan has been arguably one of the best quarterbacks to pick in the league. He's a sleeper pick. A lot of people get him as their second
100%,
QB.
100%. I look at it for winners as far as like production relative to where they were drafted. Melvin Gordon, running back 3, drafted high in the second round. Kenny Galladay, a top 15 wide receiver, drafted in the 9th or 10th round in most drafts. And for those who picked up James Conner, followed the Steelers beat writers on Twitter, there is no more greater win than picking up James Conner before week 1 of the season.
Well, Brad, who are some of your biggest losers now in contrast?
So I think there's 2 that stand out to me. First off is David Johnson. Now he's putting up good numbers, but relative to where he was drafted, top 5 in the significant majority of drafts, he is not producing to that level. He's touchdown dependent, does not have many 20-point games, and the Cardinals' offense is dysfunctional to the point where he's producing at a 2nd or 3rd round pick rate. And then for the second guy, I would say Leonard Fournette. He's gotten, 9 points all season. He's been out for pretty much the whole season. He was drafted low 1st, high 2nd round. People picked him over Melvin Gordon, and look how that's turned out.
Well, you looked at 2 running backs. I'm going to look at 2 quarterbacks.
Perfect.
Now, my first one is Deshaun Watson. Everyone was like, oh, wow, Deshaun Watson's like lighting up the league. He's been having very mixed games, lots of turnovers, lots of interceptions, not a lot of yards. He's been not living up to the hype. And also another quarterback I've been thinking about is Kirk Cousins.
No, he's been solid.
He's been all right, but he's not been perfect compared to where he's projected. He's got weapons like Thielen, weapons like Diggs, but
he's still around the top 11 mark. And if all right, I look at Deshaun Watson. There was no way that the numbers he put up last year were sustainable or realistic to be duplicated.
But he still got
the
weapons he had from last year. This is a healthy Texans team.
But I feel like the Texans' offense as a whole, you have great receiving options. The running game, Lamar Miller, Alfred Blue is always The offensive line has not been great. He's getting pressured a ton. But he was putting up historically productive numbers last year. People were drafting him super early because of that. That was never going to come.
People with Watson, he was a top 2 round pick, and I feel like he's not living up to that specifically.
100%.
That's all the time we have for fantasy football. But when we come back, Matt will be back to discuss the college football playoff. Stay tuned.